Hi, welcome to Sumery P. Today I'm sharing a video on this Australian classic known as a melting moment. It's made with cornflour, flour, sugar and a little bit of butter, but today I'm using non-dairy butter. It can be made with spelt flour, but I'm using regular flour. It's a melt in your mouth shortbread biscuit sandwiched between a delicious zingy lemon icing. It was requested by two of my viewers. Hi Owen from Frankston and Sana Louise from France. Thank you very much for your suggestion, and let's get baking. So step one for our cookies today, we need to turn the oven on to 180 degrees C, and I'll pop notes up above for Fahrenheit measurements. Grab a large bowl. I'm using my stand mixer because I've got it and it's easy. So we need to sift all the ingredients into here. So I've got white flour today, but you can use white spelt flour. That's just 1 cup or 150 grams. And I'm using the notes on my computer because save printing out my recipe. So I'm just going to check my notes. And then we've got 40 grams of icing sugar and corn flour. So we've got just 1/4 cup or 35 grams of corn flour. And did you know that the biscuit yo-yos is really similar to a melting moment, but instead of corn flour, you make it with custard powder. I don't usually eat custard and I don't have custard powder, so my version is a melting moment with corn flour. So just sift all that into the bowl. Let's help that along a bit. And then I've got butter here. I've got 175 grams. It's actually a non-dairy butter. So the reason I'm using non-dairy butter is now we're out and about and we can socialise. I like sharing my sweet treats so I don't have to eat them all. And this friend of mine prefers regular flour and is vegan, so he doesn't want dairy. But this would work well if you wanted to swap it out for white spelt flour and just use regular butter if that's what you've got. And we just need 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. This is optional. If you don't have it in the house, you can still make them and they'll still taste great. So we just need to whip this up until it forms the dough. I'm just going to clean these things up. And I've prepared some baking trays. I've just greased the bottom and then laid some baking paper on them so they're ready to go. Don't turn your mixer up too much because your flour will fly everywhere like mine just did. Whoops! Oh, the other thing you need to prep is just have a little bit of flour on standby and grab a fork because we need to dip the fork into the flour to get this little ridge pattern. Can I remove my ring? So I'm ready to roll. We're almost there. Now I can make it go faster. And now we've got this lovely sticky dough. And all you need to do is grab a teaspoon. Make sure you've got clean hands. And grab the dough. And start rolling a ball. Then after you've rolled a ball, you need to leave 2 centimetres. I say that's like 2 finger space on either side of the ball. Pop your fork in flour and press it down by making a little pattern with the fork. So I'll just continue on and I'll probably speed this up for you. So I've managed to get about 9 dough balls on there. So I'm just going to chill this for 5 minutes in the refrigerator before I pop it in the oven. A little tip, if you're living somewhere where it's really warm and you're struggling to roll it into the balls, if it's too sticky, I'd suggest popping your bowl in the refrigerator and chilling the dough before you start rolling it, and that will help. So last time I made this recipe, it made about 24 biscuits that then sandwiched together for 12 complete cookies, just depending on how big you roll your balls to how many cookies you get. And mine aren't all the same perfect size, but that's fine. I'm not a bakery. So the second tray is all ready for the fridge. I'll grab the other tray out and we'll start baking. So now I'm going to bake these for 10 minutes on the middle shelf, but at the 5-minute mark, I'm going to swap the tray around so they brown evenly. Swap it around means I'm just going to turn it around. I'm going to go away and clean up. 5-minute timer, I'm just going to turn them around. I'm going to set the timer for another 5 minutes, but at 3-minute mark, I'm going to just check them. We only want the edges to start going golden. We don't want them to be too brown. The style of this cookie is to not be too brown. So the first tray is baked and I've got that out. It only took 9 minutes. I didn't want them to brown too much, so I'm putting the second tray in. And once again, I'll pop the first timer on for 5 minutes and then I'll swivel the tray around and bake them on the other side. Now we need to let the cookies completely cool before we pop the icing on. But next step is I'll show you how I make my zingy, not too sweet, lemon icing or lemon filling for the center of them. All our cookies are baked, so I've let them sit out of the oven for 10 minutes on this tray and then I cool them on my cooling rack. And as I'm cooling them, I try and match up two halves that might look like pears so I can sandwich them together. As I said earlier, if they're not perfect pears, that's fine. And I've managed to make pears without knowing it. So I've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sets or 9 cookies today. I was a bit more generous than when I did my test bake earlier this week. I think I ended up making 10 or 11 or 12, but I might have been a bit generous with my balls. So let's move this tray out of the way. As I promised, I'm going to move these cookies until they completely cool, which is probably about an hour, and I'm going to show you how I make my lemon filling. So grab a medium-sized bowl, and once again I'm going to use dairy-free butter. So that's about 60 grams, and then in here I've got some icing sugar. I've got 100 grams, which is under a cup, so it's about 2/3 of a cup. So we just need to sift that, just so there's no lumps. Little trick to help sift it quicker, just use a whisk. But I'm left-handed, so I need to swap it over. As promised, a little bit of zing. I'm putting in the zest of half a lemon. And just grate it in. If you don't have one of these microplanes, you can just use the zest side of your box grater. But highly recommend getting one of these. It makes grating so much easier. Pop it on your Christmas list. And last but not least, teaspoon of lemon. So that's lemon juice. And you can add a little bit more lemon juice if you like, and lemon zest, but I found that 1 teaspoon was enough. So we just want to mix this together. I'm just going to bind that manually before I make my icing sugar fly everywhere, which is what I normally do in these videos. And you need to switch it on at the power point, Sue. So that's looking lovely and light and fluffy. I'm just going to give it one more mix. Let me just double check. That tastes really good. I'm going to pop this in the fridge to chill while we're waiting for those to cook. And then I'll show you how we sandwich them together. So the final step is we're going to start icing our biscuits. So I've got my lemon filling back out of the fridge and I've just given it one stir, another little stir. So I don't like to be too fancy and use a piping bag. I just like to keep it simple. So I've got an icing spatula. If you don't have one of those, you can just use a knife, just like a plain ordinary dinner knife. So you grab 1/2, grab a little bit of the filling out. You can be as generous or non-generous. What's the opposite of non-generous? If I was going to be Australian, I would say stingy. And then you squeeze it together and sandwich it, and that's it. So I'll just keep going. And as I said before, try and match a pear that looks similar in size. So generous dollop. Just make sure you leave some for all of the cookies. Sandwich it together. What I'll do is I'm going to dollop all of them to make sure I've got enough before I sandwich them. Sometimes I come up with these brilliant ideas halfway through my process. And then you get to benefit because I'm sharing it with you. This made a lot of icing. And what you find is as the icing hardens, it actually looks less. Does that make sense? So I'm going to put a generous dollop on all of them. That one's got the icing poking out of the side, so I'm just going to make it a little bit neater. So there you have it. My melting moments recipe. They're all done. I'm not going to taste test today because I want to keep these for my friends for this evening. I hope you've enjoyed my video. Write a comment below if you try this recipe and share it with a friend. And don't forget, stick around. I'll pop some links to some other cookie and biscuit ideas. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.